A young man with black hair lies in a futuristic blue VR capsule, having forcibly interrupted the game to reset his stats. The game is Graduate the Academy, infamous for being based on luck, where a player's initial stats are everything. Despite newspaper headlines warning of deaths from repeatedly restarting for better stats, a smirking young man feels the danger isn't real. Surrounded by crackling blue energy, he admits he's already reset the game thousands of times. A brown-haired woman holding a drink looks at him in utter shock and shouts, asking if he's insane. The woman questions what he'll do if he actually dies, but the young man with purplish black hair dismisses her concern, saying he'll be fine. The young man explains he always picks power-type characters because they can defeat enemies in a single shot, to which the woman responds with a thoughtful, with a shadowed, intense expression. The woman asks if a delicate girl character would be acceptable as long as her attack power is high, and he agrees instantly. As purple lightning surges around the young man, he remembers telling the woman she was the one who suggested it, much to her visible shock. He thinks he gave her a proper chance before a chilling thought crosses his mind. Am I gonna die? As his world begins generating. A gasp escapes a blonde girl as her brilliant blue eyes fly open in shock. She finds herself sitting up in a strange bed, looking around the unfamiliar room in confusion. Sunlight streams through a window as she realizes with relief that she's still alive. Looking down at her own small hands, she wonders in confusion what is happening to her. A blue system window suddenly appears, announcing a tutorial event and a letter from her father, startling her. The system prompts her to check her father's gift, a large red-wrapped box on the table, and she eyes it with curiosity. With a horrified expression, she realizes she has been reincarnated into the world of the game. Graduate from the academy on luck alone. The blonde girl looks on with a worried expression, her face framed by beautiful yellow roses. She picks up a note attached to the gift and reads the name addressed to her, Onodi, with a puzzled, huh? Holding a small box, she repeats the name, OK Nodi, wondering why it sounds so familiar. Her face drains of color as she connects the name, OK, no die, to her friend's words, appalled by the ridiculous name she's been given. Frustrated, she wonders if this is punishment for spending thousands of hours on such a terrible game. Calming herself, she decides it's still better than a simple game that only relies on physical strength. A narration explains that to clear the game, a balance of physical strength, brain, and luck is required. As a glowing die spins, the narration emphasizes that luck is the single most important factor for any player. She sits on her bed, recalling that re-rolling stats was just a method to increase that crucial luck. Determined, she tries to force quit the game, shouting for the status screen to appear and to log out. Her commands fail, and she stands defeated, accepting that this is her new reality. She collapses to the floor, devastated that she wasn't at least reincarnated as her favorite power-type character, whose silhouette fades away with an adios. She recalls her friend's words, asking if even a delicate girl character would be acceptable with enough attack power. Looking down with a forlorn expression, the blonde girl wonders if her current situation is just a terrible coincidence. She notices a large sack on the table, recognizing it as an allowance from her father. As she kneels, a wave of anxiety hits her as she questions if the game's original storyline will unfold in this world. She stands up, clutching the sack with a look of unease. A narration explains that a character's ending is determined by their father's social standing, showing cards for a farmer, hunter, and knight's attendant. Panic sets in as she imagines the horror of being expelled if the game's world logic applies here. She grits her teeth, knowing that early luck is the key to survival in this game. Clutching the heavy sack, she desperately prays that she hasn't been born an orphan. Her eyes widen in shock as she feels the unexpected heavy weight of the sack. She opens the bag and is stunned to see it's brimming with sparkling gold coins. Her eyes turn into shining stars as a system window displays father's secret savings. She excitedly realizes she's a noble's daughter. She joyfully raises the bag of gold, declaring she has a ticket to a happy ending thanks to her incredible luck. Humming to herself, she turns her attention to the red gift box, wondering what's next. She opens the box to find an array of dazzling jewelry, realizing that as a noble, her starting items are on a completely different level. Licking her lips in anticipation, she ponders her next move. She's surprised to find two items at once, holding up a small, glowing gray stone. Unfolding the accompanying letter, her face falls in disappointment as she realizes how short it is. Reading the letter, she feels a pang of sadness, noting the complete lack of fatherly affection in the words. Her mood instantly brightens as she hugs the bag of gold, deciding that having money is all that matters. With a contented smile, she happily tosses the impersonal letter over her shoulder, embracing her newfound wealth. Oknoti watches a man walk away, thinking his distance will help her avoid messy family disputes and tedious aristocratic events. With a peaceful smile, she decides that her father being a bit distant might be for the best. Full of excitement, Oknoti holds up the glowing stone, eager to use her new item right away. As she activates the item, a massive burst of purple energy surrounds her, summoning an NPC that provides daily necessities and autosells loot. The brilliant magical energy swirls dramatically before an ornate, heavy door. A man in a butler's uniform bows before her, saying, "My lady," revealing the item was a whistle that could summon a butler. With a confident smirk, Oknoti holds the whistle, ready to see who she's summoned. The handsome butler introduces himself, asking how he can be of service, and a name tag reveals his name is Max Danger. Oknoti nervously asks for his name while thinking his butler outfit looks rather standard. With an intimidating glint in his glowing purple eyes, he states his name is Max Danger, making Oknoti think he looks more like a mafia member. The ridiculously menacing name Max Danger sends Oknoti into a comical panic. She facepalms, lamenting the game's consistently terrible naming sense, while Max Danger looks on curiously. Quickly recovering, she pretends she wasn't reacting to his name, and awkwardly asks for a hand mirror instead. She tries to comfort herself by recalling other ridiculous names in the game, musing that maybe a name like his is actually lucky. As she reels from her thoughts, Max announces from off-screen that he has brought her mirror. Oknoti gasps in surprise as Max presents her with a beautifully ornate, sparkling hand mirror. Looking at her reflection among a flourish of flowers, she admiringly thinks, "A beautiful girl." She studies her face, thinking she looks a bit young, as Max's voice calls out to her. Max informs her that, as per the letter, the master wishes for her to enroll in the academy. Confused, she questions why he calls her father the master instead of papa. He gestures to a shabby, cobweb-filled room, telling her she can live calmly here and that a full-length mirror is available. With a thoughtful frown, Oknoti realizes the room looks far too shabby for a noble's daughter. Max looks down with a concerned expression, prompting a confused chibi Oknoti to wonder what's wrong. Oknoti quickly waves her hands, telling him not to worry about it. Max places a hand on his chest, vowing to support her wholeheartedly, which makes her realize he's pitying her. Frustrated that he can't see the experienced gamer inside her, she fumes while Max confidently tells her to leave everything to him at their large estate. A narration explains that graduate from the academy with luck alone has a training system before admission begins. Now in a casual green hoodie, Oknoti follows Max through a grand stone corridor. She recalls that beginners who don't prepare properly get wiped out by traps and fail to even enroll. She remembers her own struggles as a newbie, concluding that this is why 90 of beginners fail their first mission in this unforgiving game. She bitterly recalls the game's awful system where party NPCs can betray you, remembering a soul-crushing time when her entire party turned on her. Thinking that training is nothing compared to past betrayals, she listens as Max explains that her father sends people to manage the facility annually. Surprised, she asks if this happens every year, catching Max off guard as he sweats nervously. After an awkward cough, Max tries to change the subject, prompting a flustered Oknoti to quickly ask where the mirror is. Max points to a room, telling her the mirror is inside, as Oknoti internally breathes a sigh of relief, thinking it was a close call. She shrewdly analyzes his intense gaze, comparing it to an assassin caught in the act of leaving behind another victim. She enters a room with a large mirror and prepares to inspect her new body. Facing her reflection, Oknoti strikes a pose, checking her physique. After flexing her arm, she lets out a defeated sigh, realizing her new body is a total weakling. Covering her face with her hand, She concedes that at least her face isn't bad at all. She glances over her shoulder towards Max, who seems to be wondering about her true nature. Max observes her fascination with the mirror, concluding that her reaction is like someone seeing their own face for the very first time. Ognodi frantically tries to explain her reaction away as her first time with this avatar, but Max interrupts, inviting her to eat, and her eyes instantly sparkle with excitement for food. She happily runs off singing about dinner time, leaving a pensive Max to watch her go. Max assumes this must be her first proper meal as a text box explains the game's compendium system. She recalls that completing collections boosts stats and drop rates, making it essential to fill out the cooking compendium. Max bows politely, promising to bring her meal right away, to which she eagerly agrees. With a sly smile, Ognodi hums to herself, knowing that with time to spare before enrollment, she can get to work. She gets on all fours, ready to grind, thinking that raising skills is the only way to overcome the game's nonsense. After hiding under a table for a minute, her eyes glow as a system window awards her one Stealth Express. System notifications confirm that hiding in various spots for over a minute successfully grants her Stealth Express. Ognodi smirks, recalling that gaining Stealth Express requires hiding in new locations, a skill she plans to level up to evade mid-bosses. Max discovers her hiding in a barrel and asks what she's doing, to which she nervously replies she's just scouting hiding spots. With a grunt of effort from Ognodi, Max lifts the struggling girl out of the barrel. Ognodi defensively insists she isn't a weirdo, though Max's skeptical reply suggests he thinks otherwise. A magnificent dinner is served, signaling it's time to eat. She devours her meal with gusto, stuffing her face with everything at once. A system notification explains that eating 10 different dishes unlocks a compendium collection bonus. Realizing eating fast is the most efficient way to complete the compendium, Ognodi happily speeds through her meal as Max watches her in silence. Taking a short break from her meal, she asks Max what they will do next. Max announces the start of physical training, and Ognodi's eyes light up with eager anticipation. With a confident smile, she demands to be taken to the training grounds immediately. Now, in a tracksuit, Ognodi faces Max on the training field, ready to begin. Max instructs her to run until her stamina reaches its limit, emphasizing that speed isn't the goal. Full of confidence, Ognodi prepares to start her run. With a determined grin, she decides it's time to test the limits of her new body. Suddenly, she cries out in pain as a jolt of blue energy surges through her head. She quickly brushes off Max's concern, claiming it was only a slight headache. The first training event window appears, and Ognodi gives a knowing smirk. She reflects on a key game mechanic. The training opportunity is an advantage given only to the rich. A system message encourages faithful participation, promising that initial training efforts will be greatly rewarded later. She offers a glowing bag of money to a very confused Max. Ognodi remembers her past life, where she had to desperately grind for money just to access this event. When Max asks what she is doing, she explains that the money is his training fee. Relieved and happy, Ognodi celebrates saving money while Max looks on, perplexed. Getting into a runner's stance, she readies herself to begin the training. She dashes off at full speed, shouting her departure as Max watches her go. Tapping his chin thoughtfully, Max wonders if she has ever experienced goodwill without expecting payment in return. As she runs, Ognodi realizes that without a status screen, physical effort is the only way to gauge her stats, and she's pleased to find her stamina is better than expected. Panting but satisfied, she decides she's run enough for now. Max approaches with a fresh towel, agreeing that her run was sufficient. He compliments her incredible stamina, and she explains it's a vital skill for both chasing and escaping. Max internally considers that he was thinking more along the lines of monster hunting and capture quests. He quickly moves on, announcing that the next phase of training is weaponry. Before a rack of deadly weapons, Max instructs her to choose one she can use. Ognodi thoughtfully examines a short sword as Max observes her choice. In one fluid motion, she grabs a bow from the rack while still holding the sword. She proudly presents her 3 chosen weapons: a sword, a bow, and a glowing staff. When Max corrects her that she's holding a staff, not a club, she awkwardly confirms she knows. Surprised by her choice, Max asks if she's familiar with magical tools. In a cute interlude, Ognodi confidently affirms her experience with staffs, much to Max's curiosity. Smugly, she asks if he's surprised by her talent, but he simply calls out her title, getting her attention. Max grabs her shoulder, his expression turning grim as he asks if she's been involved in illicit activities like drawing blood or taking drugs. Startled by his intensity, she asks why he's angry, which he immediately denies. He grips her tighter and demands an honest answer, causing her to nervously deny everything. A bead of sweat rolls down her cheek as her expression shifts to a sly grin, realizing he might be onto something. She flashes back to her past life, where she participated in blood donations and clinical trials for money. Max warns her about learning magic from street wizards, but she clarifies it's not magic. When he presses her on where she learned to use a staff, she recalls her past life as a man using a syringe-like device. Unable to reveal her past life, Ognodi shrewdly accepts the cover story of learning at an academy. With an intense, glowing monocle, Max adjusts his gloves and announces he's stepping out. He instructs her to self-train in his absence, causing a panicked Ognodi to try and stop him from leaving. Left alone in the now empty training room, Ognodi sighs in resignation. She clasps her hands in a mock prayer, declaring that today is the day a certain street wizard will die. Recalling how that same wizard once poisoned her, she smirks, decides they're even, and confidently heads out for revenge. The story transitions to the start of Chapter 3. In a dark, candlelit room, a man resembling Max writes diligently at his desk. The document he's writing is revealed to be a, quote, periodic report. He writes that his name, Max Danger, is not his real one. A flashback shows his younger, more rugged self abandoning his past as he now continues writing at his desk. Adjusting his monocle, Max muses that his boss has a truly keen eye. His report details Ognodi's surprising beauty, stamina, and genius-level talent with weapons, all unexpected from a girl from the slums. He pauses his writing, lost in thought for a moment. He continues his report, noting that while the young lady's talent is wonderful, her strange habits are a problem, recalling her hiding inside a grandfather clock. He also remembers the time she scaled a large chandelier, and the other time he found her hiding inside a barrel. Remembering her bizarre eating habits, he concludes that he's never met anyone so strange. He suddenly looks up from his desk, alerted by a sound. In the hallway, Ognodi appears in her pajamas, asking who Dad is to him and stating she's forgotten their contract. Max's eye twitches in surprise at her sudden appearance and questions. Angrily, he slams his fist on the desk. He stands abruptly, grabbing a glowing sword from beside his desk. His expression shifts to one of nervous concern. As Ognodi walks down a dark corridor, Max calls out her title, and she turns around, startled. The scene shifts to Ognodi back in her tracksuit, nimbly navigating the village at night. Max watches from a distance as she happily hums to herself and walks on. As Max secretly observes, Ognodi stops in an alleyway, muttering that she's looking for something. Her eyes light up as she spots a glowing item on the ground and joyfully exclaims that she's found it. Max suddenly appears behind her, calmly asking if she is collecting pretty stones. Without hesitation, Ognodi pops the glowing stone into her mouth. Max is electrocuted with pure shock at her action. He lunges toward her with alarming speed, shouting her title in panic. He grabs her cheeks, frantically asking what she is doing. Furious, he demands she spit the stone out immediately, questioning its origin. Gulp. She swallows the stone with a determined effort. A system notification confirms she used a power stone, increasing a random stat by 1. An information panel explains that power stones spawn based on probability and will disappear if not found in time. When Max demands an explanation, she cheekily calls it a secret, knowing NPCs are unaware of power stones. Cringing internally, she realizes Max must think she's gone crazy and started eating rocks at night. Deciding on a new tactic, she tells a confused Max that she had no choice. She clutches her chest with dramatic flair, desperately exclaiming that she'll die without it. A bewildered Max looks on, seemingly moved by her desperate plea. He agrees to prepare larger meals for her starting tomorrow, and she lights up with genuine delight. In return, he makes her promise not to eat rocks again, and she enthusiastically agrees. Privately, however, she decides she'll just sneak some more when he isn't watching. Max tells her it's time to go back, and she cheerfully agrees. Max internally plots to increase her secret training to prevent future nightly excursions, much to her oblivious confusion. As they walk back, Max quietly observes her, impressed by her remarkable stealth and balance. Max concludes that Oknoti has a mental illness that makes forming relationships difficult, pitying her, while she wonders why he's looking at her that way. With a determined glint in his eye, Max decides that, for Oknoti's sake, he must request an assassin instructor. At the dining table, Oknoti stares at her meal, suspiciously wondering what it is this time. Looking utterly exhausted, she complains about how tired she has been lately while Max watches over her. She begins to eat the plate of spaghetti and meatballs. As she presses her fork down, the plate suddenly cracks under the unexpected pressure. She stares at the cracked plate in stunned silence. Max asks if she's all right and takes the plate as she realizes what might be happening. An image of a super-muscular version of herself flashes in her mind as she joyfully realizes she's stronger than she thought. Her celebration is cut short when she turns around and sees a massive crack in the wall behind her chair. Max explains that using enough force to crack a plate means she can't control her body, calling her frail, much to her whining dismay. She realizes that if she slacks off with this body, she'll become frail and face deadly penalties. To her confusion, Max holds out a forkful of noodles for her. She wonders with a blush if he's planning to feed her. He offers the glittering forkful of noodles, inviting her to eat. Blushing, she accepts the bite of food directly from his fork. With her cheeks full, she smugly tells herself it can't be helped, as she is a frail, beautiful girl. Max offers another bite, but is distracted by a presence at the door. A pair of formal shoes steps into the room as a voice politely greets Lady Onoti. A green-haired maid curtsies and introduces herself as Leap Life, assigned to serve Oknoti starting today. Oknoti is stunned into silence by the new arrival, prompting a concerned Max to ask if she's all right. She internally questions the maid's strange name, Leap Life, finding it just as suspicious as Max Danger. Her eyes narrow with intense suspicion as she pouts. She quickly dismisses Max's concern, claiming it's nothing while looking downcast. Leap Life offers a seemingly polite, yet subtly menacing, smile. The scene shifts to the courtyard, where Oknoti is now in her tracksuit, practicing with a wooden sword. She pauses her swing to glance back at Max and Leap Life, standing together in the distance. Max asks Leap Life if she's been informed of her true identity, adding that she will also be a shadow bodyguard. Oknoti realizes with a jolt that her hunch was correct, as a bloody flashback confirms her suspicions about Leap Life's true nature. A flashback reveals a young Leap Life being taken in by a shadowy figure she calls the Boss. Now a deadly assassin, Leap Life's name is revealed to mean eliminating the Boss's enemies with her own hands. Leap Life tells Max the supervisor expects Onoti to have an assassin's qualities, and intuition alone isn't enough. Max agrees. Max entrusts the young lady's evaluation to Leap Life's judgment, to which she confidently agrees. Adjusting his monocle, Max remarks that her confidence is obvious just by looking. He then asks her why she's still here. Max questions why someone of her caliber is still doing a maid's job. Leap Life brings up the rumor concerning the elimination of the previous young lady. Max's hand flashes toward her face as he sharply warns her to watch her mouth. He forcefully grabs her chin, his hand glowing with energy as he reminds her to know her place. His eye glows with a menacing red light as he reminds her that her surveillance target is the young lady, not him. A flustered Leap Life immediately apologizes for her transgression. Holding her practice sword, Oknoti wonders if they're fighting and asks when her training will start, hoping it can be today. Max instructs Leap Life to ensure her duties don't interfere with Oknoti's training, and she bows in understanding. Leap Life silently watches Max walk away from her. With her eyes glowing green, she thinks to herself that Max's overprotection won't do Oknoti any good. As Max and Oknoti spar, an internal thought reveals that the organization does not forgive failures more than once. From a nearby doorway, Leap Life silently observes their training session. Leap Life discovers Oknodi hiding in a laundry basket. After her failed stealth attempt, Oknodi decides the troublesome new maid will be useful for training. By successfully hiding from Leap in a tree, Oknodi gains Stealth Express, noting that the advanced rank makes success harder but more rewarding. Oknodi gags on her food, complaining that it tastes weird and that the butler has become a headache, while Max apologizes and promises to be more careful. Max apologizes for the poorly seasoned food, thinking he's never made such a mistake before as he moves to take her plate. Oknodi stops him, insisting that he doesn't take it away since he worked so hard to make it for her. Visibly touched by her consideration, Max quietly addresses her as, "My lady." Confused by his strange expression, she nervously wonders what's wrong with him. After taking a bite, she receives notifications for poison resistance EXP1 and food poisoning EXP1, realizing the dish was literally poison. Leap Life suddenly appears beside a startled Max. The green-haired maid offers Oknodi a strawberry candy to cleanse her palate, which she readily accepts. Leap Life then offers her grapes as well, and Oknodi happily agrees. When Leap Life promises to bake cookies as a special treat, Oknodi enthusiastically says yes. Oknodi internally mocks the foolish maid, gloating that Leap's wages are funding her culinary experiments. Nearby, Max asks Leap for her assessment of Oknodi's talent. Leap Life reports that Oknodi is acclimating to poison faster than expected, noting her high poison sense rate and willingness to eat meals she knows are poisoned. Max grimaces, realizing this proves she has survived being poisoned and faced death many times in her past. Oknodi muses that the town is full of trash, as Leap Life suggests another organization is meddling. Oknodi decides to clean it up, while Max notes they targeted their lady. Max declares that surveillance will now become an investigation into the hostile group. When Leap Life asks what he'll do, his eyes glow with red, menacing intent. Pat Oknodi opens a door and slips out, wondering why no one is tailing her. She cheekily thinks they are being careless as she sneaks through the halls. With a smug smile, she congratulates herself, thinking it's a mistake to underestimate a hardcore player. She decides to head into town to trigger a crime syndicate raid, planning to take them out and fund herself with the spoils. Arriving in an alley, she is shocked to find it littered with the bloody corpses of the syndicate members. She walks through the grisly scene, completely bewildered by the massacre. Her search leads her to a massive, glittering stash of gold bars. Realizing the attackers weren't after money, she finds it ominous that an event triggered without her involvement. Deciding the situation is too strange, she quickly resolves to head back. The scene transitions to a full moon shining over the grand mansion. Oknodi stands nervously before a large wooden door, hesitating to enter. Suddenly, she lets out a startled, "Eek!" Leap Life is waiting for her on the other side of the door with a calm smile. Leap asks why she was out so late, and Oknodi stammers that she was just on a walk as the maid leans in close. Leap Life announces she smells blood, causing Oknodi to panic and insist she didn't kill anyone. The maid simply smiles knowingly. Without another word, Leap Life lifts Oknodi by the back of her hoodie and carries her away. Now tucked into bed, a confused Oknodi looks around her room. She sees Leap Life lighting a candle by her bedside and weakly calls out her name. Leap Life asks if she had a bad dream, leaving Oknodi even more confused. Promising to stay by her side, Leap covers Oknodi's eyes, and a strange sensation washes over her. As if inhaling sleeping gas from the candle, Oknodi begins to drift off, wondering if it was all just a nightmare. A final glance from her glowing blue eyes is seen before a plume of pink smoke obscures the view. As Oknodi sleeps, Leap tucks her in, reflecting that, just as Max said, she needed someone to tail her. A vision of a battle-hardened Oknodi appears as Leap concludes that she has the makings of an assassin. Watching over her charge, Leap Life decides with a smirk that Oknodi will need specialized training. A system notification announces that the training period has officially ended. 1 month later, Oknodi sits at the dining table while Max and Leap Life stand watch. A message confirms that training efficiencies have returned to normal as an exhausted Oknodi drops her fork. Despite her exhaustion, she glows with a powerful aura and smiles, marveling at how strong she has become. As she boasts that she won't lose to anyone in swordsmanship or archery, Max gets her attention. He begins to inform her about the Academy, an institution that trains the world's finest talents under the age of 20. She cuts him off, stating that she's already well aware of the Academy. She recalls her past life's wandering days, justifying her shady jobs by explaining she paid for intel and training to reach the test sites. Max presents a map showing 3 nearby examiners, 2 junior ones with few tickets and 1 senior examiner with dozens. As she smiles smugly, he asks her which examiner she plans to see. She enthusiastically declares that she will, of course, challenge the senior examiner. With a scroll in hand, Max prepares for their journey while Leap Life stands ready in the background. Oknoti internally scoffs at the idea of getting a ticket this way, deeming it inefficient for a battle-hardened person like herself. She declares that the senior examiner is the only choice for a good ticket and asks for his location. Max informs her that the examiner is at the Garden of the Gods, a site at an elevation of 12,500 meters, which Oknoti considers acceptably close. She reflects on her recent training, crediting the butler for improving her combat skills and the maid for boosting her stealth abilities. As Max reminds her that staff magic will be sealed until she's officially enrolled, Oknoti nonchalantly agrees while he dabs her face with a cloth. An ornate carriage stands ready before the mansion's gates, signaling the start of their departure. Flanked by Max and Leap Life, a cheerful Oknoti thinks that facing official class examiners will be interesting. Max questions if she has packed enough luggage, to which she confidently says yes. She blushes with embarrassment as Max observes that she doesn't need to bring stuffed animals or ribbon headbands. Leap Life reassures her that they suit her well, and Oknoti happily thanks the maid. With a sigh, Max asks if they are ready to set off. He addresses his smiling young lady, who seems eager to begin their adventure. As the carriage rolls away from the estate, someone suggests they take a short break. Stepping out to stretch, Oknoti laments that unlike in the game, she can't skip the tedious travel in real life. Leap Life asks for a moment of her time, causing a worried Oknoti to wonder if she's in trouble. Max gestures toward a nearby establishment, leaving Oknoti to wonder what he's planning. To her utter shock, Max explains that he needs a photograph of her to include in a report for the master. Oknoti internally muses that this world's reliance on magic has caused its scientific development to lag behind. She questions the logic of using a costly magical camera for a simple report, thinking a painting would be cheaper. Max presents a frilly pink dress with a large bow. Recoiling in horror, Oknoti begins to protest the outfit choice. She changes her tune, bashfully pleading to wear the dress just once. Now wearing the frilly dress and a matching ribbon, a reluctant Oknoti resigns herself to her fate. Posing stiffly between Leap Life and Max, she asks if they are taking a family photo. Max awkwardly tells the photographer to choose the fastest option available as Oknoti blushes. Later in the carriage, Oknoti looks at the photo, feeling it's a bit weird, before breaking into a sly, satisfied smile. A blonde-haired man in a traveler's hat introduces his next song while playing a stringed instrument. He dedicates the song to the lovely young lady, causing a stunned Oknoti to realize he's talking about her. With a smirk and a glint in his golden eye, the man announces the song's title, Fair-Skinned Girl. Disgusted, Oknoti thinks. Ew, gross. As Max and Leap Life radiate pure murderous fury behind her. The carriage's horses neigh as they finally arrive at their destination. They have reached the Garden of the Gods, a town where aspiring youths under 20 come to meet the examiners. Oknoti is taken aback by the massive crowd, shocked that so many people are here for the exam. The man in the hat appears behind her, smugly noting the exam's popularity, much to her annoyance. Oknoti questions why an adult like him is here, and he casually replies that he's just observing. She instinctively tenses up as he steps closer to her. He strikes a dramatic pose, announcing he'll be cheering for the most beautiful participant, which sends Max and Leap Life into a silent rage. A powerful shockwave of energy bursts forth. Now, sporting a fresh black eye, the man tips his hat with a smile and announces he'll head in first. He dashes away shouting, "Glory to the young lady's life," while a thoughtful Oknoti muses that he'll at least keep things from getting boring. Oknoti turns to ask Leap Life, who is now wearing a strange eye patch, where she is going. Leap Life claims she suddenly remembered some business, but Onodi feels a strange, ominous premonition. Sensing a dark presence, she nervously asks if they can all just stay together. She clutches Max's coat for security, internally muttering, "Lucky guy." When Leap Life returns without her eye patch, Onodi questions her, but the maid dismisses it as nothing. Max then sternly warns Onodi not to hold hands with strangers. Max gently tells his lady that she is far too kind-hearted as she pouts and looks away. She rolls around, flustered and shocked at being called too kind-hearted. She retorts that Max is too picky, but he warns that her attitude will make it harder for him to overlook things in the future. Onodi's casual remark that he won't be by her side forever causes Max's expression to darken with a jolt of anger. Onodi, followed by Max and Leap Life, worries that she's fallen behind. Gazing down at the exam waiting area, she's dismayed to see a massive, long line of people already formed. The scene transitions, setting the stage for their arrival. A close-up shows a large crowd gathered before a wooden gate, waiting for the academy entrance. Max returns to Onodi and Leap Life, informing them that he has secured a ticket for the line. Max suggests Onodi go have fun for a week while he waits, but she instantly rejects the idea, leaving her companions bewildered. With a determined sparkle in her eyes, Onodi declares there's no way she could waste that much time. To pass the time productively, a man announces an arm wrestling tournament with a 1 gold coin prize, using a table Onodi brought. The announcer declares the entry fee is a ticket with an earlier number than Onodi's. The crowd erupts with excitement, with many men scoffing at facing a little girl while others eagerly volunteer to be first. As a blue system window appears announcing a sudden event, Onodi's eye glows with anticipation. The system explains this event was triggered by her proactive actions, offering a way to get a better ticket. Thinking that winning will also grant her prestige, Onodi grins as a burly challenger eagerly steps up to the table. The first match begins, with the burly man straining while Onodi and a watchful Max appear perfectly calm. As the match starts, the challenger struggles intensely, while Onodi remains unnervingly serene, surrounded by a floral aura. With a powerful slam, Onodi effortlessly defeats her muscular opponent. The onlookers stare in stunned disbelief as the challenger's arm is pinned to the table. Onodi smiles confidently, a slight blush on her cheeks as she calls for the next challenger. She continues to defeat opponent after opponent, their hands glowing red with pain as she calls next again and again. The defeated men are left in despair, some even crying as they wonder what just happened. When asked if she's done, Onodi proudly explains she had to grind the training grounds to unlock every achievement, much to her companion's delight. A flashback reveals her grueling 30-day regimen of swordsmanship, archery, and martial arts to increase her strength. She recalls unlocking achievements for destroying training dummies and sandbags, clenching her fist with newfound power. Onodi triumphantly raises her fist, shouting that her estimated strength is now 29. She feels confident she can't lose to rookies, while the crowd murmurs that she must be a rich man's daughter, using a special mana technique. The announcer excitedly closes the betting in 10 seconds, hyping it as a once-in-a-lifetime chance. He decides to bet against the little lady for the thrill, but Onodi's voice suddenly interrupts him. The announcer turns with a smile, playfully asking the lucky girl Missy what she wants. Onodi coolly proposes a 50-50 split of the winnings, leaving the announcer confused. With a devilish grin and tiny horns, she threatens to report him for illegal gambling with a minor, causing him to recoil in terror. The defeated announcer bows low as Onodi smugly snaps her fingers, her companions watching impassively. Having successfully cleared the line, Onodi and her companions stand at the front, with a mysterious dark silhouette marking a vacant spot nearby. Onodi glances back with a look of surprise, sensing she's being watched. A system notification appears, confirming she has caught the attention of a mysterious entity. Puzzled, she wonders aloud who this mysterious could possibly be. She stands by the arm wrestling table, her expression now serious and alert. Onodi, Max, and Leap Life wait together, their expressions bored and impatient. In a waiting area, Onodi throws a tantrum, whining about how much longer they have to wait. Max calmly reminds her that the delay is her fault for not holding back, and she groans in frustration. Oknoti is suddenly startled, sensing a new arrival. A voice from the crowd alerts everyone that a new challenger has appeared. The ape-man from the examination emerges with a grin, offering to have a match with her too. He offers a gold coin if she wins, but Oknoti comically pretends not to hear him as the crowd mocks the idea of challenging the muscle monster. Annoyed, Oknoti covers her ears as the crowd calls her a crazy arm-wrestling freak. Someone in the crowd speculates that the ape-man must have a strength stat of at least 40. Max steps forward to politely decline the match, citing the extreme size difference, which leaves Oknoti confused. The ape-man protests, pointing out that her small size didn't stop her from crushing everyone else. Max rejects the money and asks for the ape-man's numbered ticket instead, their auras clashing intensely. The ape-man scoffs and turns away, deep in thought. After a moment of consideration, the ape-man turns and walks away from the challenge. As the ape-man explains a challenge to a hopeful participant, a bystander wonders what he's doing. The ape-man presents a single, gleaming gold coin as part of his game. In a blur of motion, he begins a shell game with his fists as Oknoti, Max, and Leap Life watch. Wham! He slams his hand down, concealing the coin. The ape-man laughs as the participant guesses wrong, and Oknoti is impressed by his clever method. Oknoti approaches a timid man who recoils, mistaking her for the monster girl and refusing to arm wrestle. She happily presents a gold coin, proposing a different kind of challenge. Oknoti deftly tricks a woman with her own shell game, cheekily revealing the coin in the other hand. Another woman explains the coin game to Oknoti, noting its 50 odds allow anyone to play, regardless of strength. The timid man angrily points at Giselle, calling him out for analyzing the game when his own number was stolen. Giselle coolly admits he was only in line to scalp tickets, revealing his true profession. Oknoti cleverly uses her winnings to buy a ticket, earning praise from the ape-man for being smart as well as strong, which she coyly accepts. The ape-man gestures for the next 5 people, including Oknoti, to enter the building. Oknoti cheers triumphantly with Max and Leap Life, having cleared the long waiting line in just 2 days. The sun sets over the inn, marking the end of the day. While eating, Max asks Oknoti why she always orders the apple and walnut oatmeal. She explains it's a limited time special. A cloaked man approaches their table, catching Oknoti's attention mid-bite. She's surprised to see the blonde traveler, whom she identifies as a bard. She asks when he arrived, and he explains he got there just yesterday. The traveler explains he's working as a bard, which makes Oknoti privately scoff at the trash class, only for Max to sternly cut off her thought. The bard gets to the point, asking if they are there for the ticket exam. He leans in to share a secret. The examiner appears hourly on the first floor, and his conversations are the key. Oknoti is suspicious, wondering how a newcomer could know a secret only hardcore players should be aware of. Before she can question him further, the bard makes a hasty retreat. He dashes away from the inn, breathing a sigh of relief in the quiet night. His disguise fades, revealing him to be the long-haired senior examiner Michael, who smirks about finding a fascinating raw gem. Now sitting at a table inside, Michael complains that the Backwater Inn has nothing decent to eat. He questions the bald innkeeper about mead and shaved ice, only to be told the necessary ingredients are delayed for days or even a week. Max points out the scene to Oknoti, explaining that the examiner is presenting the exam's problem as a system window appears. The event notice clarifies that Michael and the innkeeper repeat this conversation about missing ingredients hourly as a hint for the exam. Oknoti watches intently, the blue glow of the event window reflecting in her eyes. As Max asks if she'll just watch, she calmly replies she's thinking, while information about the rare ingredients honey and ice appears. Oknoti muses that, while others would tackle the easier layers of the mountain, there's no need to make things unnecessarily difficult. The powerful ape-man approaches the innkeeper, vowing to fetch Thornbeast sap from the dangerous 4th layer in exchange for a meal. The innkeeper agrees to the deal, and the determined ape-man promises to return with the ingredient. As the ape-man heads out alone, onlookers whisper that he's marching to his death, prompting Max to ask Oknoti about her own plan. When asked if she's giving up, Ognodi smiles brightly and says there's no way, though she hasn't decided on an ingredient yet. With a clever glint in her eye, she declares that there's more than one way to pass the exam. Giselle approaches, praising her for being different from the cowards in the inn, but she coolly asks what his plan is. He smiles confidently, telling her he is preparing things his own way, which piques her interest. 2 days pass in the sunlit town. A man reports to Giselle that he has successfully gathered all the requested goods. Giselle thanks his associate, inviting him for tea while he inspects the delivery. The crowd begins to gather outside the inn, drawn by the commotion of the delivery. A man in the crowd recognizes Giselle as the jack-of-all-trades who has recently become the talk of the town. Giselle offers a pleased, subtle smile as his reputation precedes him. Presenting his bounty to the innkeeper, Giselle requests an exchange, a meal made from the ingredients for his ticket. Just then, the examiner Michael emerges from the inn, looking utterly exasperated as he runs a hand through his hair. Michael begins to vent his frustration to the innkeeper about his 5 long years working as an examiner. A document reveals someone astonishingly completed 20 different menu items to obtain 33 tickets on their first try. Ognodi peeks out from a doorway, looking completely amazed by what she's heard. A stubbled man offers to sell Ognodi tickets, but she realizes he's a black market dealer charging an exorbitant 100 gold coins for a single bronze ticket. She recalls that in the game, this was just how it worked, so she never questioned the shady practice. Ognodi offers a pouch of 100 gold coins, and the dealer asks if she's sure she only wants a bronze ticket. With a sly smile, Ognodi clarifies that what she's buying isn't actually a ticket. She whispers her true proposal into the shocked dealer's ear. As Ognodi and Max run off, the ticket dealer stands alone, pondering her proposition. 5 days later, the dealer admits he's been watching the strange young lady, curious to see how she'd get a ticket. While jogging, Max informs Ognodi that with her improved stats, simple running is no longer an effective form of training. He pulls out 2 thin, glowing rods, announcing their training will now focus on evasion. Promising to call out his targets to avoid injury, Max prepares to strike as Ognodi eagerly agrees. Ognodi skillfully dodges Max's lightning-fast strikes as he calls out targets for her arm, ear, and leg. The ticket dealer watches the intense training session in absolute, horrified disbelief. The dealer recalls Ognodi's offer to buy his cooking, finding her words quite interesting. Ognodi confirms that she wants to trade for the right to eat the 32 dishes he earned from his assignments. As she tempts him with the rare dishes he can't get otherwise, he asks what her plan is for the ticket. She coyly states she'll worry about the ticket after she's enjoyed the food. With a determined glint in her eyes, Ognodi proposes they make a bet. The man agrees to her terms, his ticket and food if she gets 33 tickets in 10 days. But she'll have to buy a silver ticket from him if she fails, a deal that makes her drool. Max scolds Ognodi for drooling and ruining her noble lady aesthetic, but she protests that the man offered free food. The man sighs, impressed and slightly weary of her sheer confidence. He peeks into a room where Ognodi sits with Max and Leaplife at a table covered in weapons. While Ognodi enjoys a meal, Max reports on his observations, noting that 2 individuals in particular stand out. He mentions the maid who poisons the young Mrs. Candy as Leaplife offers Ognodi a treat glowing with dark magic. Max's report concludes with the butler who throws knives at her as he wearily adjusts his monocle. Watching from the shadows, the man thinks with alarm that those 2 should be reported to the Lord immediately. Ognodi pushes herself up from a wooden bench, looking finished with her rest. She approaches the man, who looks up at her with a questioning expression. He tells her he's come to understand how harsh her life is, leaving Ognodi utterly confused. Introducing himself as Giselle, he earnestly offers to provide her with food, clothing, and shelter. Ognodi realizes he's trying to scout her, but before she can respond, a menacing Max appears behind her to interject. With a threatening aura, Max rejects the offer, stating his lady will attend the academy, but Giselle smirks and says to keep it in mind. An intense, silent battle of wills erupts between Max and Giselle, leaving Ognodi caught in the middle. Watching a room full of rough-looking individuals, Ognodi wonders if they were all hired by Giselle. She steps between the two men, cheerfully de-escalating the situation by saying she'll keep his offer in mind. As Leap Life carries Ognodi away, Giselle watches, hoping she remembers she has allies if she ever faces hardship. In a tavern, a group is shocked to learn that a rare material they needed has already been delivered in a large sack. A massive, ape-like man with orange fur proudly announces he has brought the sap of the thornvine beast. The bald tavern keeper looks at the huge sack, questioning if all that is just to make a single dish. The tavern keeper presents the request to a serious-looking blond man with golden eyes who is sitting at the bar. The ape-like man approaches Ognodi, mockingly calling her a runt and asking why she's still around. The blond man with golden eyes joins the ape man, confirming that he managed to collect all the necessary ingredients. He hands over a shining golden ticket as proof of his success. The ape man informs the blond man he has passed and no longer needs the examiner's approval, which seems to surprise him. With a challenging grin and glowing eyes, the ape man asks the blond man for a match. The blond man returns a sinister smile, agreeing that it sounds like good exercise before a meal. Ognodi watches with a bored expression as the two formidable men walk off to fight. She slams her hand on the counter, catching Giselle's attention with a determined look. Ognodi happily skips toward the counter, where the menu for her hard-earned meal awaits. Giselle watches Ognodi slumped over the counter, realizing with a chuckle that she was strategically waiting for this moment. In a flash of insight, Giselle understands this is a hardcore strategy, not just a stroke of luck. Ognodi proudly reveals the special selection menu, which allows her to forcibly generate the exact mission she wants. Sometime later, the blond man with golden eyes walks purposefully down a wooden staircase. Sitting at a desk, he reviews a book, his golden eye widening in sudden realization. He glances back with a sharp, serious expression. Ognodi bursts onto the scene with a cheerful wink and a pose, flamboyantly introducing herself. Arms outstretched in a brilliant glow, she impatiently urges the silent, seated man to say something. The blond man gives her a thumbs up with a smirk, admitting her performance is not bad. Giselle recalls the strange young lady and her two intimidating companions, wondering if she's a hidden gem. He remembers her disarmingly sweet smile while they were making their deal. Her bold idea, he thinks, was designed to grab everyone's attention from the very beginning. Ognodi stands against a sunset, wondering aloud if the night's special menu duel isn't available. She puffs out her chest proudly, thinking to herself that her rude attitude is a talent all its own. Wielding a wooden sword, the examiner states this is the first time in 5 days he's had to wait for a menu. He confronts Ognodi, declaring that after making him wait so long, he won't let her pass easily. Ognodi reveals her strategy. The night's special menus on the 5th day match the extreme difficulty of Divine Garden Mountain. The examiner's expression hardens as he comprehends the boldness of her challenge. He calls her arrogant, reminding her that even the powerful beastman only reached level 4. Ognodi calmly grips the hilt of her wooden sword, prepared for the fight. With a confident grin, she swings her practice sword, generating a powerful gust of wind. She follows through with a fierce, determined swing. Facing her opponent, she declares that their true skills will be revealed once their swords clash. The blond man offers a slight, knowing smirk. His golden eye glows with power as he tells her it's too late for regrets. The two opponents face each other on a dusky hillside, ready to begin their duel. The examiner dashes forward in a blur of motion. Ognodi successfully blocks his powerful overhead strike, holding her ground. He effortlessly parries her next move with the back of his hand. He leaps into the air, bringing his sword down in a swift, powerful arc. As Ognodi dodges, the examiner looks back, surprised by her agility. He contorts his body mid-air to evade her counterattack, flipping upside down. Ognodi lands silently behind him, ready to strike. Stunned, he realizes he heard no footsteps and wonders if she comes from a family of assassins. He smirks, impressed by her undeniable talent. He internally praises her skills, noting her flawless swordsmanship could likely clear early layer 4, and she's clever enough to manipulate the rules. To her utter shock, he simply declares, "You pass," Flustered, Oknoti complains that she hasn't even shown her staff magic yet, which she needed to prove she could handle Layer 5. Smiling, the examiner reveals a shimmering platinum ticket, admitting he never expected to award it to a challenger. He confirms she passes in all categories: power, creativity, and swordsmanship, and her unique special menu was especially memorable. Beaming with delight, Oknoti graciously accepts the ticket. He suddenly snatches the ticket back, leaving her stunned and confused. With a sly grin, he offers her a, quote, chance to trade the single platinum ticket for 10 gold tickets, baffling her completely. A note explains that most tickets circulating are of the lower-tier bronze or iron variety. Oknoti recalls the market prices: 10 gold for a bronze ticket and 100 for a silver one. The examiner clarifies that he's talking about platinum tickets, of course. As Oknoti glares, he nonchalantly asks, "Oh?" She realizes he is testing her resolve, thinking that she already has plenty of money anyway. The examiner smiles, seeming to understand her decision without a word. Vim. He hands her the ticket number 15, explaining that single-digit numbers are the best, and double are better than triple, like his old ticket, 143. Oknoti thinks to herself that a single word is all it takes to make his scary face straighten up. She cheerfully accepts the platinum ticket, thanking the blonde examiner with a bright smile. As she turns to leave, he calls out to her, making her pause. With a slight smile, the blonde man asks for her name. Oknoti turns back with a charming smile and introduces herself. The examiner watches her go, ominously vowing that over the next 10 years she will grow into someone he'll be eager to cut down. As he thinks, the wooden practice sword from their duel falls to the ground with a soft thud. As dusk settles over a large building, a disembodied thought laments that another boring day is about to begin. In a bustling courtyard, Oknoti waves goodbye to her companions as Leap Life agrees to pack their luggage. Oknoti stands alone for a moment, looking small and thoughtful in the now empty space. A voice suddenly compliments the little miss on her impressive performance, startling her. The man from before introduces himself with a friendly wave as Giselle, the black market dealer. Oknoti presents the ticket from their bet, asking if she won, and Giselle gracefully concedes. He then asks if she understands the differences between the tickets, to which she gives a hesitant, more or less. Oknoti recalls that in the game, tickets were random luck, and this is the first she's heard of them having numbers. She muses that a silver ticket would have been sufficient just to sit for the exam. Giselle explains that noble houses often resort to cruel abuse to ensure their children get into the continent's top gift academy. When he presumably asks about her own family's methods, she bluntly responds, "I don't know." Her unexpected answer leaves Giselle utterly dumbfounded. He continues his questioning, asking about her societal debut or tea parties, but she dismisses them, only asking if they serve a lot of food. Giselle reels back in shock, realizing with dawning horror that she isn't a normal noble at all. He sees the image of a sad little girl, viewing her as a glorious sacrifice for her family. With renewed purpose, Giselle announces he's made a decision, leaving Oknoti to wonder what he's talking about. He declares with passionate conviction that he's going to take the entrance exam too. Shocked, Oknoti wonders if he plans to lie about his age, noting that an enrollment event for a dealer never existed in the game. In a flash of insight, Giselle realizes he has navigated a series of rare events to trigger an incredible 0.1% chance Suru's event. Oknoti thinks Giselle seems like a decent person, but she's puzzled by this middle-aged man's dream. She gives him a quirky thumbs up, sincerely hoping his dream comes true. Flustered at being called middle-aged, Giselle watches as Oknoti enthusiastically cheers him on. Giselle stands in a spotlight, reflecting that he chose to enroll to protect her, but is now overcome by an unfamiliar feeling. He clenches his fist, angrily thinking she must be mocking him with her earnest encouragement. Oknoti stares in wide-eyed shock at a fan of shimmering tickets in her hands. With a strained, sweaty smile, she asks for clarification on what kind of ticket she's holding. She remembers thinking that boarding would mean a simple carriage or ship. Max adjusts his monocle, revealing the ticket is a boarding pass for a magnificent airship soaring through the sky.